I'm Doug North of season 12 of the History Channel show Alone. I thought I would take a little bit of time just to give you some more detail on each of my 10 items that I brought with me into the Great Karoo Desert of South Africa. First up, let's take a look at the pot. It may not be the most glamorous item, but it was certainly one of the unsung heroes. The pot is made by Solo Stove, and it's their 1800 model, meaning that it's 1800 cubic centimeters, which is just under the 2-quart limit that we're allowed to take onto the Alone show. I like that it has both a bail to hang the pot and handles to manipulate the pot. So having those two options is very convenient. I'm also a fan of the stainless steel. It heats up more quickly than something with a larger thermal mass like cast iron. And unlike cast iron, if I drop this on a rock, it's very unlikely to break. The lid is fairly secure, which is good for boiling, and it's not bad if you decide to take it with you. It doesn't form very tight seal, but pretty good compared to a lot of other models. I like the small spout that is on this edge, so if you do transfer liquids, say from the pot to a water bottle or something like that, it does have the spout to guide that liquid. I've also made use of the lid quite often as a small frying pan or as a bowl for portions of food. Overall, I've had several of these and I'm very pleased with them. Next up, let's take a look at the canteen. This is a Nalgene 38-ounce stainless steel water bottle. It has this durable plastic lid and this cord that allows you to keep it connected to the water bottle. It can be removed for when the water bottle was placed into the fire. It has a fairly wide mouth, which I like, but it still has enough of a taper that you can make a toggle to lift this out of the fire so you don't burn your hands. And this is one of my late in the game decisions, but one that I'm very glad I made. Water was a crucial resource, and this allowed me to boil 50% more water at once, or to be cooking and purifying water at the same time, as well as allowing me to take this water with me when I was foraging, hunting, scouting. A very good choice in my opinion. In terms of fishing gear, I tried to keep things very simple. I brought out one roll of monofilament line. This is 30-pound test, which is the highest that we were allowed to bring. And this is 300 yards, which is the amount that we needed to bring and to have pre-measured before we arrived. This is Cast King tripolymer advanced monofilament in clear. I also brought a selection of hooks. Most of these are Aberdeen hooks. As I recall, I might have had some bait saver hooks with the small barbs on the shank as well, but a variety of sizes because I didn't really know what size fish to expect. Let's take a look at the FERRO rod next. This is just some almost no-name brand that I ordered on Amazon. I believe the brand is something like Eric X Light. You got 2 of these 1/2-inch diameter by 6-inch long FERRO rods. I bought them some time ago. They've always performed pretty well, so I didn't overthink it. Put some bank line on it and a small piece of steel that I filed a burr onto so that that will really grab onto the FERRO rod alloy when I scrape it. That's it. It works. Next up, let's talk about the salt. I chose to bring the 3-pound block of salt, which is one of the allowed rations. My thinking was that we were going to be drinking a tremendous amount of water in such an arid environment, and as such, we would be flushing out electrolytes constantly. Unless you got some kind of big game, it would be very hard to replenish those. So at the very least, I could be taking in some salt. This is actually Himalayan rock salt, originally sold as a deer salt lick. The packaging said that it contained 84 trace minerals. In addition to sodium, it said that it had calcium, magnesium, and iron, and all of those sounded like they could be helpful to me while I was out there in the desert. It was very helpful with the food too. Made everything taste a lot better. Next up, let's talk about the tarp. Unlike previous seasons, the participants weren't given a tarp to cover their camera gear and to, by extension, use for shelters. If you wanted a tarp, you had to pick it as a deliberate item. I chose this oilskin tarp by a company called Tent Smiths. Oilskin is very durable, very waterproof, has a ton of different tie-outs. It's holds up well to sparks and wind. These are just kind of bomb-proof. I've been using the 8x8 tarp for several years on camping trips, for classes that I've been taking, for different types of training that I've done, and it's just never let me down. So I went ahead and purchased the 12x12. It's not something that you'd want to carry in a backpack. It's very weighty, but since this is largely a stationary endeavor, I thought this would be an excellent choice for alone because I could count on it through thick or thin. Let's jump over to the bow next. I chose a 60-pound recurve bow because that allows me to hunt the full range of animal sizes on the season. This is a Bear Super Grizzly. I started off with a very inexpensive takedown recurve some years ago, and when I was looking to upgrade, I simply heard someone that I respect say that they had this model, and I thought that's enough for me, and I picked one up myself, and I do love it. For arrows, I brought a mix of broadheads and blunts. The broadheads are these single edge broadheads by Iron Will. I don't know what they're called. The small bleeder points off the edges, and they're very sharp. Excellent points. The arrows, incidentally, are Easton tradition only. And the blunts are these very strong, simple blunts. I believe they're called the Hammer, something like that. Beyond that, it's a standard Dacron string. It's got some beaver fur silencers and the Bear archery quiver that screws onto the bow itself and holds those arrows very securely. Unlike past seasons, we were not allowed to bring a sleeping bag this time. The option open to us was a wool blanket, and I chose to go with that. While we had plenty of clothing to wear, the nights get surprisingly cold, especially as we were moving deeper into winter while we were there. This is the Army quality blanket made by Ferrybolt Mills. I think that's how you say it. Pretty standard blanket. It's queen size, so I got the largest that we were allowed to take. It's not the heaviest weight blanket, but it is fairly heavy. I'd say it's medium heavyweight blanket. I was hoping that the full use of material would allow me to wrap myself in multiple layers, do the blanket burrito wrap, and sort of use this in place of a sleeping bag, and that's just what I did. While I can't find this blanket on the Ferrybolt Mills website any longer, it looks very similar to the one that they call their plain and simple, and I believe they even have this olive drab color. I chose to bring the tactical shovel. I find this to be a very underrated item. It's a fairly capable hatchet and a very capable shovel. And to me, that feels like you're getting two major tools in one. I've used this for chopping through ice, chopping down trees, delimbing trees, rough carving. It's just a really cool item and very practical if you ask me. My final item is the multi-tool. This is a Leatherman Surge that I've modified in a number of ways. In fact, so many ways I can't cover it all here. I'm gonna make a full video just covering the Leatherman, and I'll put a link up there when it's available. So I've told you that both the Salt and the Canteen were sort of late decisions for me. That means I had to choose those over some other things. What might have those things been? One of the leading choices would have been some kind of cordage, either paracord or bank line. This season, we weren't allowed to make gill nets. We weren't allowed to make snares. I did have the fishing line, and there were a bunch of native plants that make very good cordage. It wasn't an easy decision, but I decided that I would prefer the Canteen and the Salt over cordage, so it didn't make the cut. Another item that I would have liked to have had, but chose not to take, was a saw. This is the Silky Big Boy. I love these saws. I prefer this somewhat smaller size over the very large ones. Those might make sense in a very cold environment where you're going to be spending a huge amount of time processing firewood, but this is much more manageable for crafting things, in addition to being fairly reasonable for cutting firewood. Though I love the saw and I really would like to have had it, I decided I needed the canteen and the salt more. And the last item that really got serious consideration was a ration of pemmican. This isn't the pemmican. This is the pemmican I show you how to make in my own video right here. But the pemmican I would have taken on the show is provided by the production team. So it would have been a good sized container of pemmican worth several thousand calories, I believe. But in the end, I decided I would go with the container and the salt over that ration. If I had to sum up my approach to picking items, I suppose it would be picking things that I have extensive experience with, picking items that would allow me to get food, like the bow and the fishing gear, items that would allow me to purify the most water, so the canteen and the pot, calorie savers, like the FERRO rod, the blanket, and the TARP, and finally tools to help me make tools, like the Leatherman and the shovel. The salt kind of falls into its own category for making food taste better, replenishing electrolytes, and possibly food preservation. Having just 10 items to survive with is probably the most compelling and interesting part of the Alone show. Tell me what you would do differently. Would you bump one of these items or several of them? And if so, what would you include and why? I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Leave any questions and comments down below. And until next time, I'm Doug North. Take care.